What's going on, guys? And welcome back to Watchtime. Today we got a bit of a different episode for you because Grace is in quarantine. She's just flown back from Canada. She's back in Sydney, but she's got to spend 2 weeks locked in a hotel room before she can go anywhere. So Today's episode is Grace stranded in a hotel room. We're going to be quick firing on a couple of brand new news topics. And then we've also got a segment that we didn't show to anyone yet, which is us interrogating Lachlan from last week about Pokemon cards and what it all means. Grace, how's quarantine?
Quarantine is okay. So yeah, guys, for those of you that don't know, I've flown back to Australia. Australia has a mandatory hotel quarantine when you come into the country. So they basically take you to a random hotel. They don't tell you where you're going to go. Thank goodness I've got a pretty good room. And basically I'm in here. I'm not allowed to take a step out. No fresh air, no nothing for 2 weeks. So thank goodness I've been able to keep busy with work and stuff, but it's a pretty crazy experience. I'm 1 week in exactly today. So Elliot, I'm literally so excited to just be in the same room when we record again. I feel like we've done an okay job, making it work for the last few months,
and to just see people.
Oh my God. Seriously, I've been in contact with close contact with less than 20 people, I reckon, in the last 8 months. And yeah, I haven't eaten inside a restaurant for 8 months. It's gonna be weird.
And you've got back to Australia right as we pretty much killed COVID almost entirely. I think it's we're down to only a couple of cases a day. So everything's kind of going back to
I'm
normal.
not bringing it with me. I've had 3 negative tests in the last week. They're pretty serious
aggressive
on testing for it.
Yeah. Alrighty, well, let's jump into it. We got 3 news topics to cover, and then we got Pokemon cards. And
it's been an exciting week. There's been a lot of stuff happening in the industry.
And hot off the press this morning, only a few hours old as we record this, is the fact that, drumroll, Cyberpunk got delayed again. We love to see it. It keeps happening, and it's happened again.
So give me a little context on this because I'm not familiar.
Yeah, so I feel like I'm probably actually going to forget one of the delays. Cyberpunk, one of the most anticipated games ever, really. Literally, I would say the anticipation around Cyberpunk has been huge. By the same people that made Witcher 3, it's supposed to be one of the most incredible games ever. From everything we've seen, it looks like it's going to be one of the most incredible games ever. I believe it was initially supposed to come out in November of 2019. It then got, and I could be getting one of these dates wrong. Then it got delayed to, I believe, January, February, March of 2020. Then early 2020, it got delayed again to November 20th, roughly, of 2020. So literally in 15, 20 days. And then this morning, they came out and said, hey, we need another month. So it's now coming out on December 10th.
Damn.
Supposedly.
I feel like that's just the games in has any game really come out on schedule ever?
No,
though?
a lot of games do come out on schedule actually. And don't get me wrong, I think it's been interesting seeing the community perspective shift because I think initially everyone's you know what, really good move. Not enough developers these days take the time to make sure their game releases in a good state.
Oh, that's
all
interesting.
for them for delaying it. Then they delayed the second time. People are you know what? It's fine. We want to, it's going to be an incredible game. We want to make sure it's perfect. This extra year of development, it's all for the best. This one really pissed people off because it's only 20 days away. And here's the thing that I didn't consider, because I'm a privileged YouTuber who, doesn't think about it. But a lot of people, when games they're excited about are coming out, literally, they put in for leave. They go to their boss, hey, just so you know, boss, I'm going to take December or, November 20th to November 25th as my annual leave because this sick game's coming out and I want to play it. So a lot of people because it's only 20 days out. So they put in their annual leave and they got a week off or however long off from the day that Cyberpunk comes out till a week later. And now the game's not coming out. So now they're stuck with a week off that they don't have anything for.
Oh, that actually sucks.
Yeah. And the crazy thing is, and I think this is where the biggest mismanagement is from them, is number one, waiting till this close to release to do it.
Yeah.
But the other big thing, in my opinion at least, is that on their social account, someone actually tweeted them yesterday saying, hey, at Cyberpunk, just about to put in my annual leave, to take 5 days off when the game gets released. Like, do you extra special promise no takesies backsies that the game is actually coming out on the 20th? And they replied, yes, 100% guaranteed. So there was clearly because internally they must have known that this is something that could happen.
Course.
And there was clearly not very good internal communication. Apparently, the rumors are that it came as a shock as well to a lot of the developers. They didn't even know it was going to get delayed until the letter came out this morning. So long story short, don't get me wrong, I think Cyberpunk's going to be a really good game. But I do think they've really bungled this final delay, and I think they've lost a lot of community goodwill in doing it. I'm all for making sure games are perfect for when they come out, but yeah, bit of a bungle.
Yeah. I feel like after this year as well, and just pandemic things, people are like not here. Like, people are relying on the small wins of 2020. Yeah, and it's literally, like, if a game's coming out, if something's meant to be coming out and then it's off schedule, people are just like, no, like, literally. Not this year. Like, there's nothing else that I'm looking forward to.
Nah, 100%. I mean, like, I think the good thing that people can look forward to, and actually this was almost, the thing that always frustrates me about gaming is that we have basically nothing get released for like the whole year. And then it comes to November and it's like, like every big game comes out within like 2 weeks of each other because that's when the new console launches as well. But the real, I guess, good thing to take away from this is we've still got Watch Dogs Legion, which is coming out today or tomorrow. Then we've got Assassin's Creed Odyssey that's coming out a few days later. Then you got Call of Duty that's coming out right after that. So don't get me wrong, none of those are Cyberpunk, and none of them look quite as cool as Cyberpunk. But there are like other relatively interesting games to kind of sate your hunger for new things to play for at least another month, which is how long it's going to be till the game comes out now. So that's my take on Cyberpunk. It sucks, but there's some other cool stuff to play. And if you took annual leave, shit, that sucks.
That really sucks. Damn, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, like, annual leave, that's not fun.
Especially when, like, no one's going on holidays this year. Like, people aren't traveling. Like, so people are just like, yeah, I'm going to take my annual leave and, like, play some games for 5 days. Oh, and that's, yeah.
And speaking of cool things coming out, I got an Xbox Series X and none of you do. Well, probably none of, I can't open it yet, but it's in a box. It's sitting there. I'll open it soon.
Oh, I love that you've just placed it in the background though to like subtle flex on the YouTube viewers.
No. This is just that's my shelf where I keep all the things that arrive in the office. All right, next topic is we finally found out what happened to that Call of Duty team. I don't know if you guys were.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, if you guys were listening to the episode over the last week or two, we kept talking about this really, really weird thing that happened where Optic Hex, or no longer Optic Hex, bought the like Call of Duty license, the rights to the Call of Duty team that Optic had, which didn't make sense because he's now with Energy, and Energy already has a Call of Duty team. It was all very confusing. And now it's come out that the 100 Thieves actually bought the Call of Duty franchise. And they now have an LA-based team called, I believe, the LA Thieves. So they actually, which was a big win for them, I think, because I know a lot of brands really hate the fact that if you buy a Call of Duty license, Energy, I believe their COD team is called like the Huntsman or something. So like you build up this big esports brand and then you have to call your COD team something totally unrelated, which is really frustrating. So 100 Thieves clearly got a big win where they were allowed to call the team the Thieves, which in some ways would suggest to me that Blizzard's getting a bit desperate with their franchise. Like they're no longer able to hold the whole moral high ground of like, no, it's our way or the highway. They are now kind of being like, far out, we need to like get this franchise going.
I think, my read into it has been, and keep in mind that absolutely none of this has been publicly disclosed yet. So this is all like rumored still, technically. No one from 100 Thieves, no one from Hex has like actually publicly spoken on it yet, but apparently it's like fairly reputable sources that are saying that this is the case. And it makes sense with the information that we do know. And like, damn, you got to say, LA Thieves is a sick name. Like, that is a great name for a team. Like, for a franchised city-based team, LA Thieves, like,
Yeah.
I'll get behind that 100%. I think the way that they've been able to get it isn't necessarily, and again, like, it's hard to say because none of this is public yet. I don't think it was necessarily the league that loosened the rules around naming. I think it was a very lucky juggle around the fact that the team was already the LA-based franchise and the Optic name had been sold to Hex, which he didn't sell with the team. So 100 Thieves got to name it Thieves. But
they weren't
anyway,
called the LA Optic team. They had some other random name.
Elliot, you're testing my knowledge on podcasts. We'll come back to you guys when it's all confirmed.
Yeah, 100%. This is Call of Duty team flexing a bit, I think. Like, as in flexing, not in a good way, but in like like we need to be a bit more understanding of these franchises.
Yeah.
No, but super interesting.
Really interesting, especially considering that, Nadeshot basically came out at the start of the season last year and said that, like, hey, look, the financial commitment for these teams is just too much. We can't justify it. And up until a couple months ago, like, they had done interviews basically saying that they weren't prepared to make the financial commitment that it required, and there was no way to see a payoff on it. Obviously, like, 100 Thieves is growing really rapidly. Things happen fast, so there must have been a change of heart. But yeah, super interesting, and I think it like definitely cements them further as really wanting to be like a very major player. Yeah, one of the big boys for sure. 100%. For sure.
And trying to think what else.
The third topic. Oh my God.
I love this one. If you're on Twitter recently, you probably would have seen a lot of replies and a lot of people ratioing a certain tweet from the creative director of Google Stadia. Now, you would think creative director, that is like you are in charge of the vision. You know, you gotta, what is this industry? Where is it going? Where are we going to, lead the company? And the creative director of Google Stadia tweeted this. Streamers worried about getting their content pulled because they used music they didn't pay for should be more worried by the fact that they're streaming games they didn't pay for as well. It's all gone as soon as publishers decide to enforce it. The real truth is streamers should be paying the developers and publishers of the games that they stream. They should be buying a license like any real business and paying for the content that they use. Now, number one,
this started
the balls on this guy to not delete the tweet. I actually applaud him. He did not delete the tweet. He let it sit there, and he literally just stood there like a guy in a movie just getting shot repeatedly in slow-mo, and he ate it. And I respect that. But here's the really interesting thing, which I think is worth clarifying to the audience beforehand, is that, legally actually speaking, developers are able to copyright strike anyone playing their game. A lot of people don't know that. If you are playing a game on YouTube or Twitch, technically that is the copyright, that is like content that can be claimed by whoever developed that game. So there's been instances before where someone made a negative review on a game and it got copyright striked. There are also big instances like Nintendo until recently used to literally fully monetize and claim any video that was made on one of their games. So if you made a Smash Bros video, Nintendo would, and they come through and they just full claim, take all the money from it. And then they slowly have been transitioning out of that. But so essentially what this guy is saying is that you're playing their games, you're using their games to entertain an audience, and therefore you should be paying the developers for that, right? The same way that you pay for a music license.
I saw one tweet saying that, like, there's every day on Twitter, there's one main character, and that's the person you don't want to be. And today, it was that guy. And I mean, the real reason that this started so much of a shitstorm is because it shows no recognition or regard for the fact that actually streamers and creators can be an incredibly important part of the ecosystem and are an incredibly important part of the ecosystem. It's why game publishers pay creators to create content. It's why many would say games like Fortnite have been so successful, because they clearly know and recognize the value of people playing their games on streams and creating content by the way that they have creator codes, or the way that they will implement creator skins in game. Like, there is a huge value to publishers, undeniably so, that comes with people streaming. But Elliot, I think what I find the funniest part of this was the plot twist. So I also saw this tweet. I remember I woke up, I scrolled through Twitter, I saw it, and I saw it was getting a lot of interaction. And it was one of those moments where I was like, oh, this is clearly made by someone that just doesn't quite understand the ecosystem, and is probably a traditional business person that's come into the gaming world and is taking a hot take or something. Yeah. And then I clicked on his bio, and his bio, as you said creative director of Google Stadia. And I was like, oh no, oh, this is not good. This is really not good. The funny plot twist is apparently he is not creative director of Google Stadia. He is creative director of a game studio based out of Montreal that Google Stadia bought last year. And so since tweeting this, it's clearly caused some internal tension. He's changed his Twitter bio. It no longer says creative director of Google Stadia. And it also says all opinions are my own.
He's Australian?
Is he? I don't know.
So it says he's based in Montreal, but he's now got an Australian flag at the end of his bio.
Interesting. So this isn't actually the first time that he's come under hot water. A game that he was previously a part of as well copped some criticism for not having any female skins or characters in game, which apparently he put down to the fact that it was too difficult to do. So he's a little bit of a controversial character. It's not the first time he's had an unpopular hot take, but it was unbelievable the interaction that this got, and I think he really just sort of came after a community that wasn't gonna sit there and take it.
I think the craziest part of the whole thing, or not the craziest part, but the most interesting part, is you can understand at a very shallow level, at a very surface level, where that mentality comes from. Creator is using a game to entertain people, therefore the person who made the game should be getting paid. Which, don't get me wrong, if a developer were to come along and be like, yep, we're gonna you need to pay us if you want to play our game, or you can't play it, or we're going to monetize your video, exactly like Nintendo did, I'm not going to sit there and be like, wow, you can't do that. They can absolutely do that. I just think they're dumb.
Yeah.
I think that ultimately is the takeaway, is that they're just dumb. It's not what you can and you can't do, but I think what makes that more concerning is it just shows a fundamental lack of understanding about the way the industry works and the way to create a successful game. People Among Us is not the biggest game in the world right now, because it is, don't get me wrong, it is a great game, but it would not be even close to what it is right now without YouTubers and streamers picking it up. There's a reason it sat on 20, 30 concurrent players for years. And then all of a sudden, bam, blew up. YouTubers, Twitch streamers, they pick it up. It's not that one person is taking anything from another person, or that someone should be paying this or that or whatever it is. It's very much, in my eyes, the relationship between game developers and creators. It's very symbiotic. It's
totally,
you scratch my back, I scratch yours. You give us a cool platform to create our content on, and in return, our content promotes what your game is. Everyone wins, and I think that's been the way it is, and I think that is the way that it will continue to be. And I can't see that changing.
And I think, to me, it reminds me of actually a point that you made back in April about Quibi, the app that, oh, by the way, we haven't even touched on that, but RIP Quibi, it's dead. It's been announced that they're shutting it down, which is super interesting. But it really reminds me of a point that you made about Quibi in April, which I really thought was good. And you said that there's a fundamental issue with Quibi where they weren't allowing people to screenshot or screen record anything from the app. And on first glance, you're like, yeah, okay, makes sense. You should have to pay for the content. That's their business model. But it completely inhibited the ability for there to be a situation like there was with Tiger King, which was also massive at the time, where it was just completely memed and it was all over social media and there were bloody TikTok dances to it and everyone knew about it and everyone wanted to watch it because they didn't want to feel left out.
Yeah.
And I think this take reminded me of that. It's like they're just thinking about the short-term bit rather than recognizing that there's a potential, as you said, symbiotic relationship where there's going to be huge benefits for everyone involved in the fact that people are talking about it and creating, secondary content on it.
State of the industry.
State of the industry. And just quickly before we roll into our part 2 of interview with Lachlan, Quibi did shut down. It announced this week that they clearly hadn't seen the uptick since they started that they wanted to, and they realized that it was a long way off. And obviously they, recognized that the pandemic maybe played some part in that. How much we'll never know, but that there was also something pretty fundamentally flawed with the business model, which I think Elliot, don't want to say we called it, but we did call it from week
Imagine being one of the people who put $1 billion into it.
Well, apparently they're returning about 375 million of it.
Oh, of the 2 billion that they took in funding. Wow, that's super nice. Far out. That'll really make you feel better. And sorry, that is before that they've. I heard also though that there are people suing them for stealing proprietary information. They've probably got a lot of unpaid bills. I'd be questioning that 375 making it all the way back.
Yeah.
But you heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen. We were the only people in the world, revolutionary, when we said that we thought Quibi could have some potential flaws. No one else called it. No one else in the world. No, everyone knew that thing was going to fail from the start.
I think it's really interesting because there was a saying before Quibi came out, and Jeffrey Katzenberg, the guy that started it, there was a saying in Hollywood that was, don't bet against Jeffrey Katzenberg, because he'd had so many wins in his career. And I think while we think that basically anyone under the age of 30 or anyone that's sort of familiar with a lot of short form content and creators were pretty confident that there was some pretty major flaws, a lot of people really didn't know that. And I think it'll be interesting to see what he does as his next move, because I think surely the performance of Quibi will put a bit of a taint on that saying, and maybe some people will bet against Jeffrey Katzenberg.
You know what? Honestly, I think if I had a reputation where people said, never bet against Muselk, whatever he does, it's going to succeed, it might make me stumble into some bad decisions. So you probably get a bit of a God complex.
It's a lot of pressure. But to give them some credit, nothing happens without people testing the waters and trying new things. And I think it shows that if you're going to try and compete in the streaming wars, you could have all the money, you could have a Rolodeck of names behind you, and it still doesn't guarantee your success. And I think in many ways, that's pretty crazy. In many ways, it's also super exciting, because I think it's showing that traditionally entertainment was an industry where your connections, your wealth really had an impact on your ability to succeed. And I think 2020, that correlation isn't necessarily there. And there's more opportunities both for major players to succeed without that, and for small creators to be able to find an audience. On TikTok or whatever. I think it's an exciting time.
And now we are pleased to share with you the second part of our interview with Lockie, where we interrogated him aggressively on the state of Pokemon cards and why they're worth so much and why he owns so many, and lots of other cool, exciting things.
Charizard.
Let's just back up for a second, because you're obviously long time Pokemon passionate. This is not a new thing for you. And I know it's obviously hit some sort of social media, total having a moment right now. But you have been doing this low key behind the scenes for 6 months now. I feel like you've been really into it.
Yeah.
But what do you think, for the people that don't know anything about it, where has this come from? Why do you love it, and why do you think it's having such a moment right now?
I mean, right now is different to how it was even last week. It is very rapid changing the landscape of the whole Pokemon card market. But so I obviously had Pokemon cards as a kid, But back when I was a kid, especially like when Pokemon cards were a thing, it was like back in that exact time period, my parents like were having a lot of financial trouble, so I couldn't get cards ever really. I think I'd maybe get like 5 packs a year type deal. Like it's very rare for me to get like Pokemon cards as a kid, but I loved it, and when I got it, it was an event type deal. And so like that, and like childhood, like at school, we take our cards to school and we trade. And I remember at one point I had like an actual Venusaur. And that was like the height of how like the best, like, because it was always like the hierarchy, and it's the same as it is
like
today.
First edition though?
I
edition?
don't think Australia had first edition. I very rarely saw them ever. I don't know if like the print run never got here, or if it's just at my school, no one ever had it, but I never saw first edition. I think I saw it once and everyone was like, yo, look at that stamp, that's sick. But
dude, imagine all the people. I just had a really funny thought. Imagine all the people thinking back to their childhood in school, remembering the time that they were like flicking their shiny Charizard card around the room, just like frisbeeing it at people, like they spill their juice box on it. They'd just be like, ah.
Well, you'd always go around school holding your cards like this. You'd have them in a deck like this. These are just some random cards. But you'd go around school, you'd put like rubber band around it to keep them all nice and tight. You have your best card at the front. This is where your Charizard would be. And you'd be like, yo, like, what do you got? Like, yeah, like, this is what I got, like, type of deal. You're like, oh, yeah, it's sick. And you'd hand your cards to someone and they'd, like, pick it up and be like, you obviously got to trust them, right? Because definitely kids did try to steal stuff. And they'd be like, yeah, sick. All right, like, trade for this. Like, let's do a trade. And, like, that's just how you do it. Like, it was just, like, such a cool experience. And
the young hustle,
legit. And so now it's kind of, and I find it funny because the hierarchy is the same as it is today. Charizard's the GOAT, Blastoise's the second, Venusaur's arguably third, but it's still kind of yikes. So sometimes Chansey goes on top of it. But because it just looks ugly. Like it all comes down to visual appeal. Like this looks visually sick. Like the actual card itself as a piece of art looks sick. This looks like a fat toad. Like just
Wait, is that a first edition?
Nah, these are random Japanese cards I have.
What made you get back into it?
I was chatting with Alex at the end of last year. He came to Toronto and he came with a jungle booster box, and like he gave me a couple packs, and I was just like, wow, this is sick. Like this is so dope. Like I want to open some more. Like I want to get some my own packs. Like, this is dope. And so he was trying to help me find like places to buy it. And I think I pulled the trigger when chatting with Alex around like March, April, May this year. I just come back from Japan and I was trying to find cards in Japan the whole time. And I have a photo of me in like a Mandarake store, which is like the reselling Pokemon store that they do anime, manga, a whole lot of things, but they have a category for Pokemon. And I have a photo of just like some absolute rare cards selling for peanuts in today's prices. And I remember I was like, oh, I should buy one thing just so like I have like memory of like Osaka and everything. I didn't buy it because I didn't know which one to get. I didn't have any cash, and cash was kind of hard to get, so I didn't do it. I was like, damn, I should have done that, man, because like those cards are worth like 10x what they are now. And that was only start of the year. Like that's how crazy it's all gone. But yeah, I pulled the trigger and I bought this bad boy.
Spence, what's it gonna be?
This.
Oh,
like,
wait. What?
Podcast just becomes show
so
and
this is
tell.
this.
Yeah. So say it audibly for the people listening on Spotify.
So I bought a base set unlimited booster box. Around.
Wait, that's not the same one as Logan Paul.
Nah,
right?
it's the same one, but it doesn't have first edition. So it means it's like $100,000 less back when I bought it. So I bought this.
So it's only $100,000. Cool.
But these are now worth. You can't buy one for less than $25,000 right now. I bought it for $12,000 in around May, June, I think, is when I bought it. And I bought it for record price at the time. I bought it for 12 and I thought I got finessed because the last one sold for like 10, 11. And I was like, oh, I've just been finessed. But so this is actually empty. I posted it on Twitter and I really shouldn't have because this is a really good mint box, but you only live once. It's all filled with like old packs that I've already opened and stuff. Like these aren't, you got nothing in them.
You know what You know, I thought was super funny. I don't know if it was that box that you were talking about, but we were chatting about how you bought a whole bunch of packs. I don't know if they were the first editions or what.
Yeah.
But you were like, oh yeah, I got like these 12 packs, bro. And like, I'm going to open like one of them on my birthday and I'm going to save the rest. Got to your birthday, you opened all of them.
So like
you didn't save one. You had no self-control.
It's like this one. This one is a first edition pack that I opened. It's one of those ones you're talking about because I put them in this box after. Yeah, like definitely spent like as I opened the box, which by the way, mad piss, like didn't get a Charizard. Like there's like a reoccurring theme in my life where I can't get a Charizard. Like and it's actually kind of like a chase and a hunt. I don't have a Charizard, and I was like, I'll buy a box, get a Charizard. I got a Blastoise, I got a Venusaur. I did not get a Charizard. I got 2 Ninetales. So there's only 2 fire cards. There's only 2 red cards in the whole box, and my last 2 holographic cards pulled up from the bottom. It was red. I was like, oh, this is it. Ninetales. And I had one more pack left. It was red. I was like, oh, this has to be it. And there's another Ninetales. And I was actually like, race quit, man. I was like, I'm done with this. So I was like May, June. And then I've just kept, I was like so addicted to it. I just kept buying boxes. But like, I got like 6 or 7 boxes over there. I had Rob's mom over in Canada pick up some boxes for me. It's like sourcing them was like really hard. Like back 3 months ago.
But you were really getting them because you just loved it and you wanted to collect them, and you know, it was like art, it was like something.
Yeah, the way I looked
like
at it.
Obviously done really well. It was like a way to spend your money on something you're passionate about.
No, that's exactly it. Like the way my whole like thought process was that when I was spending like these absurd amounts for cards was that I wasn't like, I'm not going to sell anything that I've got here unless it's doubles, and then I might sell them. But like I genuinely just want to collect them. And I think I talked to you and Rob like ages ago, like how I had this vision of like getting all of my favorite Pokemon and like framing them all. And that the vision has kind of changed a little bit because I don't know, because like originally I was like, oh, I'm just gonna buy the PSA 10s and then crack them out of the case and then put them in a frame because I don't want the PSA branding. It looks ugly to me. Like I want it for the card. I don't want it for some arbitrary grade, which is kind of a joke too, because you'll buy PSA 10s. I got a PSA 10 sitting here.
Explain what a PSA 10
so a PSA is I don't know what it stands for. Something Sports Authenticator. I don't know what the P stands for, but they're like the big brand that grade the cards, and they're being like flooded right now because everyone's sending in just bulk amount of cards to them. But they grade your card from 1 to 10, 1 being the worst, 10 being the best, 10 being the gem mint, and 10 it's kind of like just the way it is. A 10 is better than a 9, but
imagine you're the guy there and you got a card that's like a borderline 9, almost a 10, and whichever way you lean, like the centering, like it's like basically a 10, but there's like a fraction of a millimeter, could be a 9, and you're like, whichever way I decree changes the value of this card by like $100,000.
Yeah, that's the Charizard. It's $100,000 between a 9 and a 10, and it's so dumb because you look at like so the grades on the card. I don't have a PSA card with me because I moved all my PSA cards. Like I moved all my Pokemon cards out of here because it was getting too much. But the older serial numbers on the cards, they had different grading standards back then. So in the 1 to 2 million like first cards that PSA ever graded, you'll look at the cards and they're so inconsistent. Like I know like there's Charizard PSA 10s that are off center as hell and would guaranteed modern day grade now be worth a 9, but because 10 years ago, PSA gave him a 10, it's PSA 10. But it's not as good as a modern day PSA 10 grade. So that's why it gets really stupid, because you'll pay for a PSA 10 card thinking, oh yeah, it's got the PSA 10. But then you look through the card. I got a card, it's got a massive dent in the corner. PSA 10. Like, it's just, that's why I don't trust the whole grading thing of it all. It's like, there's one company called BGS, I think, do like probably better grading. They do like half grades as well. So like, Elliot, if you're in between, you're a 9.5. Like, whereas PSA, they rarely do half grades, but they don't do 9.5s from what I've seen. They only do like 8.5, 7.5s. But
and so
yeah,
I know you and I were messaging about this like a month ago, and it was when Logan posted on Instagram that he was starting to buy cards, and I messaged you because we've spoken, like you and me, about your Pokemon card collection. And I was like, is this for real? and you had a pretty strong reaction.
I was like, yeah, it's got to be real, because like I imagine he's like literally in the same shoes as me. He's probably bought like a box, bought some cards, had a lot of fun with it, seeing the uptick of the growth. Because if you look at the market in the last 6, like from that, I think when it was like August, if you had to look at the last 8 months, it had a massive boom in like March, April, where prices just went crazy, and it did it again like last week when Logan Paul did the whole box deal thing, which I knew was going to happen. Because I did a lot of purchasing before Logan Paul did the live stream, because I was like, all right, this is kind of like the last time cards will be on sale, so like get in now. And I bought a whole bunch of like Japanese stuff because I like opening the packs, but the problem is prices are set up in a way where it is a very bad gamble to open the packs. You probably shouldn't ever open the packs, because more times than not you will actually lose money, and that's the thing. It's literally gambling.
Whereas if you don't open it, it keeps the mystery, and it could be
worth it. So I've been buying a lot of Japanese packs because they're like a third of the price, and there's a holo in every pack. So it's like, whereas in the English one, it's one every 3 packs, and you can weigh the packs, but people on eBay scam. They're like, oh, this is a heavy pack, and they send you a light pack type deal. Oh, it's unweighed. It's all bullshit. Like it's definitely a light pack every time. Like you buy one on eBay.
Yeah, every time like it's unweighed.
Yeah, it's like it's coming in light. You already know, unless it's like verified sellers and stuff. And there are a few like legit guys that do it, but like if you don't know this guy, you do not buy unweighed pack ever, because you're getting a light.
So do you feel like Logan's kind of like artificially ruined / inflated the market because he's been promoting it so much? The market is quite small. It's like open to fluctuations. Now suddenly stuff that you were buying for like $5,000 a few months ago is like $20,000.
Yeah, legit. Especially with like the first edition base set, like the set he opened on his live stream. It's definitely frustrating, especially for like those hardcore collectors that don't have a lot of disposable income but just want to collect for the sake of it. It's definitely become like a money game now. It's just who's got the most money can buy it, and sometimes you can't. Like the guy that has a lot of the Charizards, Gary from Pawn Stars. Yeah, like he doesn't ever want to sell them, and I'm even surprised he sold one to Logan Paul. But yeah, like no one wants to let go of their collection, so it's just who will, because they're very finite. Especially those higher PSA 10s, there's only a handful. There's only 40 of the Charizards. So it's like whoever has them sets the price, and if they don't want to get rid of them, they don't want to get rid of them. So until the market keeps offering what they want to get to this arbitrary number, which just goes into the same, it's getting into the same like kind of realm as like actual art. It's like it's just worth as much as how much someone's going to pay for it, and there's no. And the way it works is you go on eBay, you go the sold listings, and what it sells for, that is now the quote unquote price. No one will sell it for less. And the problem with that is you have a lot of like illegitimate, but even illegitimate deals. Like you'll have shill bids. Someone like there was a Pikachu base set, like unlimited, which means not rare. Like literally out of this box, like the Pikachu, the common card for it, and a PSA 10 sold last night for 1.2K US. A common card. That is stupid. Like that's what the first edition one was doing like a couple months ago. So like the prices don't make sense, but I'm probably not going to buy much more from this point on. I think like
I think he's G'ing it up a bit aggressively. Like I think he's
too aggressive. I feel like there's underlying legitimacy to like his fascination to the hobby, but there's also like business Logan.
There is so much just like clear like aggressively trying to drive up the price. Like when he opened that video where he bought the PSA 10 Charizard for 160 grand, he was like, guys, these are an investment. Like this card is going to be worth $5 million in 4 years. You know, like it's like, bro, like it's like actually no, it won't. I'm sorry, and I would love to eat my words on this. It won't be worth $5 million. Sure.
No, he didn't say 5 million. He said $1 million, didn't he?
I'm pretty sure he said multiple million.
He said the bit that I heard was $1 million over 2 to 3 years, and I believe that. I reckon the Charizard PSA 10 will be worth $1 million in 3 to 4 years. I could see that happening.
You gonna go buy one?
No, because I can't freaking find one that's selling. I wanted to buy one for a long time, but I couldn't find anyone that was selling it. And then now you're buying 9s for like 70 grand of what the old 10s were, and it's like. Yeah, but now I don't know. It's just like I got a sick collection. I'm gonna make some art pieces out of what I've got. Like I got all of the crystal cards, and I had to spend a pretty penny on that. I think that collection there cost me about like
right, he did say
What's
million.
the value? Yeah, like what's the value of someone's, like what would be the value of Logan's collection? Like, how's it stack?
I don't know what Logan has, and that's a lot of like that's the other thing as well. A lot of like OG like Pokemon guys, they have so much that they don't even tell you what they got because they'll crash. They literally can single-handedly crash the market.
You know what? You know what's kind of crazy is it's almost like, you know, and it sounds so freaking weird to compare it to this, but it's actually not that dissimilar to, like, you know, we talk about Elon Musk. If he tweets out, I think Tesla stock is overvalued, bam, wipes billions off the market overnight. Not that differently, Logan Paul, with enough following and with enough like notoriety now in the Pokemon card collector world, if he like says, yeah, I bought this pack for 200 grand, now that pack will be worth 200 grand.
Yep.
To a degree, like they are that, like they can just dictate the price, not even by what reality is, but just by what they say, which is insane.
Yeah, like it influences power, and you can, what you say to enough people, like especially with the reach that Logan has, it's like this is just how it is. And like that's why I held off making any Pokemon content, because I knew I would like in a way push the market up. So I just, because I like buying the cards, I like buying everything, so I didn't say anything ever. And I could have made a lot of content about it, because
is there like part of you that's kicking yourself that you haven't? Like, do you feel like there's a future in Pokemon card content, like more mainstream than there has been?
I feel like there is. Like, I definitely knew like the box break with Logan Paul was going to be a massive hit. That's why I bought a pack, because it's like it's going to be a culture moment. And like getting that Charizard would be like culture, but instead I got a light pack. But I got good on the comments. I made my money back on the pack, I think. Actually, no, I made a lot of money. Bulbasaur, 30 grand. So, you know, got it up. That was the other guy.
Oh,
the guy,
what?
The guy on the podcast was like, "Oh, the Bulbasaur's 30 grand." It's like big meme. It's not 30 grand.
It's not worth 30 grand.
Not worth
I don't know
30
how.
grand.
Wait, was that the collector guy who claims to know everything about them?
I think he knows a lot about the cards, but he's like
Yeah,
kind
but
of
like,
on Team Logan Paul to like
he
push
the
the
one-
prices up.
Was he the one who said it was worth 30 grand?
Yeah. He was like, "Yeah, it's 30 grand." It was like,
Bro, I feel like that's 101. Like
Yeah.
that, you gotta know, like, if a card's pushing that value, like you should know.
Yeah, nah, it's not even close. It's like 4 grand. Like that's how much there was like a listing online of like someone selling the card for 4 grand at the time. But it's good memes. But yeah, like the hobby and everything around it is super cool. I'm still collecting like a bunch of Japanese cards. Like I've just moved explicitly to Japanese because I find it just cooler, because the cards are technically older. Like this card right here is I think it's 1996, but the English one started in 1999. So this is 3 years older than the print run of English cards. And you can get it for like a fraction of the price. So I don't really care too much about the language. I know what the Pokemon is, so it looks kind of cooler. It's cheaper. So that's what I'm like buying right now. I've been buying a lot of that, but I think I'm on my way out for like the hobby as it goes. Like I just think like the price is just getting too ridiculous that I don't really want to like keep buying into it. Like I'm gonna get my sets. I'm gonna make my crystal. I'm getting my crystal stuff framed up when I get my last card in Charizard. I'm gonna like frame that up, and that'll be cool. And then I'm gonna do like that original piece that I spoke about, Grace, where I'm gonna get like all of like my 151 and do that, and then a few other pieces as well. But like not gonna go. Who knows? Let's be honest. There's a big auction coming up like next couple months. So
2 months from now, Lachlan's uploading exclusively
Pokemon card content. Like, I suppose if like going back to what we said about like regrets, I maybe regret not filming myself opening up the boxes and stuff, because that is content. Like literally, that's what Logan Paul did. He opened up a box, and I opened up like some pretty expensive boxes over there that I'm just like looking at. That are just like the boxes now. And I'm like, damn, like. And I'm looking at it right now. By the way, if I didn't open those boxes, I would have made like a lot of money. I would have made like 100 grand minimum if I didn't open those boxes. But like YOLO.
I feel like in many ways though, although you're like a creator and like an influencer or whatever, you're also a really private person. Like I feel like you of most people, like you're not putting a whole lot about your personal life. Like I know you know, like we've spoken about like how you love having those moments, like having a beer with your brother and like opening up those
that's what we do
and stuff, and like that's such a nice moment. Like
you don't want to like film that.
I feel like you're not the kind of person that's like looking for content in every aspect of your life.
No, like that's what we do. Like me and my brother, we'd like make an old fashioned, like we put a jungle booster box down, we'd get this bad boy up, it became a meme by the end. Like if this bad boy came up, you're having a good time, because we'd weigh out all the heavy packs, we put all the light packs to the side, and we'd send them off to get grading, because like that's just like from a somewhat investment standpoint, is if you're gonna open a box, which is dumb in the first place, at least don't open up the light packs, because it's not worth it most of the times. So I put those to the side and just rip through them and relive it. That's what it's about, and that's why the sealed products will always forever keep going up to astronomical prices, because they are completely finite and diminishing. Like every day, more vintage cards are being like opened. Like that's just how it is. So if there was a smart bet, it'd be buying a first edition base set box like the one Logan did, because that's always going to be the nuts of like the whole series. But they are now worth 400 grand because Logan said they're worth 400 grand. He kind of shot himself in the foot with that one, because he's trying to buy another one now and no one's selling to less than 400 grand.
Insane.
Oh,
insane.
yeah, you should have bought multiple.
Yeah, I should have bought multiple. Like, what do you think was going to happen? Like, your marketing worked. But
alrighty. Well, we have spoken for so long.
Yeah.
This has easily been the longest one we've ever done.
I gotta
But
scream.
thank you so much, Lachlan.
No worries.
It's a pleasure as always.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Awesome. Alrighty. Well, thank you guys so much for watching this week's episode of Watchtime. We will see you next week. Bye-bye.